Hello, everyone. My name is Salim Dababneh. I appreciate the time you've taken out to join us for today's presentation. We will try and move quickly through the presentation in the interest of your time, but the main objectives we hope to achieve here is to uh, explain to you our proposal for a new communication portal called the JMessenger program. And we'd like to discuss and share with you some of the thoughts we've had on why this is something that will address some of the business pain points that we have at present and how this could actually provide future benefits as well. So this presentation is on behalf of the project team consisting of the individuals you see listed here: Anthony, Eureka, Salim, and Andrew. And we appreciate your time. And what we'd ask is that you hold questions until the end. But as we go through the presentation, please do, critique what you're seeing. Think of questions to ask at the end. And, let's come up with a game plan at the end of this to make sure that we're all going to move forward with a good game plan and something that makes sense for everybody. So with that said, I want to move forward into the presentation. I will be using PowerPoint today since we are over a web broadcast and I can't be there with you in person today. So I appreciate you following along. I'm not a huge fan of PowerPoint. Wish I could be there with you, but since we've got PowerPoint at our disposal, we're going to go ahead and utilize that to try and communicate some of the things we've been designing and discussing as a team. So the problem we've been having is with our code development. Right now, we're using systems that are not tracking all communication. Code sharing is a bit of a hassle because we can't have things out on the web. So people are moving things around through email in insecure manners. And, we can't use repositories like GitHub or other things which are online just because of the exposure out on the web. We also are finding that through employee turnover and stuff, we're losing work product because we're not retaining communication and development logs and things of that nature that can help with future maintenance of the code we have. But we need to address some of the logging issues. One of the big issues too is as we move forward and continue to grow the company and working towards is our current development not so with this, Sarbanes Oxley Act state that public companies must have and say all electronic records for at least 5 years. And so, we need to start working on this now if we plan to move in that direction in the next 5 years. And so, as we move forward, I'm going to try and talk about some of the proposed ideas we have for this. And so, utilizing the code from JMessenger, we feel we can develop an in-house communication portal that will allow us to address these issues. We'll be able to improve communication amongst the developers by having a shared area where code can be shared. We can log and track the actual code check-in and the versioning. It'll also allow us to have just general email communication amongst the project team and the developers, all of it tracked and storable and searchable within a database that is accessible only to our team and is not exposed to potential risk being out on the web and published out in the DMZ. And so the developers that we would like to utilize for this are actually our current staff. We feel this would help increase their skill as developers and will give them an opportunity to start a new project using this new software development lifecycle that we haven't tried yet. So we're proposing a few changes there. Just give them a chance to test some of the agile development methods to see how that would help as well. So as part of this, we plan to build a web server. Again, the web server will remain behind the DMZ, so it'll only be used for internal local access. But we do need that to actually present the UI forward to the team. And we're going to implement the porting of that JMessenger solution using this web server, but also an application server and database server, which will utilize encryption in their transmissions back and forth to each other. This is to ensure that there are no potential SQL injection attacks or anything like that, which could happen through some of the different UI applications. And if somebody potentially is able to hack into any of the systems that reach these, or the application server, by having that in place with the encryption, it'll again prevent the SQL injection. So the team composition that we're proposing for this project would only take one project manager, a functional analyst, a technical lead architect, three developers and 2 QA testers to go through this process. We do feel that we can get this done in a short amount of time, and it'd be, again, a good team building opportunity to work on a shorter project that's not as big as some of the other stuff we've handled to date. Some of the risks, obviously, with going forward in this is, just whether or not we have the skill in-house to accomplish what we're setting out to do. Based on some of the technical designs we've developed, which I'll show you here in a few moments, I do feel that this is something we can overcome, but we'll definitely need to analyze that and just assure ourselves of that before we move forward. Also, costs, obviously, as we take a step back and start developing more of a compliance application, we're not able to utilize those developers for those things that our clients are going to be paying for, some of the applications and tools that we've been building. So it will take some of our resources internally. Alternatively, we could outsource some of this effort. But again, I think because of the benefits, it makes sense to use our internal teams to go through this. So there will be some potential unfamiliarity with the technology. And so obviously that will lead to some difficulty and potential failure of going through this process. Now, the project deliverables our team will have for you here is obviously a project plan, a training plan, the testing plan, all the way through to our final rollout, moving into execution, cutover, and final acceptance and sign off. So you see here the items we've got listed out. And so some of the items that we've got to share here, talking about like the software development lifecycle plan. I mentioned earlier how we'd like to utilize the Agile Scrum process. This would be new for our dev teams. So it would be a good opportunity with a smaller project to work through this process and see how well it improves not only their development, but also the reporting. One thing historically we've struggled with is keeping good tabs on when we're starting to fall behind and when our backlog is growing faster than we're putting code through. And so the Agile development process will give us a more iterative look at our code process and our actual development speed. We'll be able to track with better reporting more frequently, and we'll have measurable output more frequently there as we go through. So as stated, we've got a few technical design items to share with you. First up is our state diagram. Oh, sorry, this is actually our use case diagram. I'm going to change the label on that. I apologize for that. So the use case diagram will just show you that each user is going to have a list of simple menus. There's not going to go too many levels deep to access the things they're going to need for email communication, for sharing of code, logging in code, doing the versioning, and so and saving and storing some of their data files that they're using as they go through with their development. The class diagram you see here, there's not too many class objects, and so it's not going to be a terribly complex design as far as number of layers and so forth. So we do feel that it's not going to be a significant ask for our development team to go through this, even though there is some new technology in there. The levels of depth and how deep they have to go with these different objects is not going to be too tasking. And then our state diagram. This is just showing you, kind of activity for the UI and the different functions as the users go through and actually go through and leverage the final work product. Now, the project management plan here, we're estimating 31 days with using a team of 5 full-time individuals, and we're anticipating this is going to take about a month. And so it looks to be about 6,200 labor hours. Total cost, we're estimating to be about $35,000 at this point. Now, obviously, with something that we're going to invest that much time into, we want to make sure it's working right. So our quality assurance and quality control measures will be utilized throughout the process. And using the Agile Scrum methodology, we're going to have sprint reviews more frequently than we would normally do our code reviews and deliverable reviews. And so this will give us more measurable results and the ability to check where we're at more frequently to make sure we're moving in the right direction before we burn too many dollars. Now, the biggest thing is really the value analysis. Why are we going to go through this, cost, to continue to grow the business, and is it really worth the value? And so the things we got to think of is, again, as we're looking to become a public company in the future, this is a base requirement to be Sarbanes-Oxley compliant. And to do that, we need to secure our communication. And this is one step that would help with that. If you look at some of the fines out on the web, you do some research, you'll see fines that, in the range of $25,000 up to 3 point some million dollars that Bank of America got hit with. And so the fines can be significant for those who fail to comply with this. And so there's that part of it. On top of that, though, it's really just going to improve our overall development practice with better sharing, logging. It's going to help, as we lose employees, we're going to be able to retain the work product as they leave. Makes it easier for future maintenance for existing developers or even new developers coming on. They're going to be able to get into code quicker by being able to see past communication and follow that chain, and also the versioning that we're doing with the code. This will also help by obtaining the Sarbanes-Oxley compliance. This will help as a marketing thing as well for the company as we work to grow into a public company. We're going to be able to promote ourselves better. Those companies that are Sarbanes-Oxley compliant are seeing higher share values. And so this is a benefit to the company as a whole. And then also, just overall preventing ourselves from potential loss of IP, by not having to use web-based tools and exposing our content, whether it be our code or our communication, exposing that outside the DMZ. We're going to keep control of this much better from any outside attacks. And so with that said, we definitely appreciate everybody's time today. And so what we're going to do now is turn it into a Q&A session. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop the presentation at this point, and we'll have our discussions offline. Thank you again, everybody, for your time, and I look forward to working with you on this project.